Movies and TV portray teen bullying. It runs the spectrum. I've seen portrayals that are not as serious as it is in real life, and then I've seen a lot of stuff that portrays how serious it can be.
So I have not seen 13 Reasons Why, but I've heard the premise, and I think it normalizes really hard issues and makes them not be as scary as they should be.
They're, I think, highly influential. What we see and what we hear, what we feel in any situation is going to come out of our bodies, mouths, or eyes somehow. And our expression, it's body memory. We get it. We imbibe it. We just take it in like sponges.
TV shows as well as movies have far-fetched views of our everyday lives most times, but how do they negatively portray bullying?
The media tends to, in the portrayals of teen bullying in the media, they can sometimes gloss over some of the little things, and other times they can kind of like over exaggerate some things, or not take them as seriously. I think that a lot of movies and TV could portray bullying more accurately by talking to people that have been bullied, and not going off of depictions that are, there are people who will just kind of like regurgitate or like recycle what they've been seeing in movies and TV, and be like, this is bullying. Bullying has changed a lot, and I think one show that has showed very well a lot of kind of like the nuances of like what bullying can be is 13 Reasons Why.
After the release of the show 13 Reasons Why, articles addressing the show came out one after the other. One in specific stated that the show itself had a message of bullying, but it doesn't do anything with it, showing the main character cyberbullied before killing herself, and then becoming a bully herself even after death through the tapes she leaves for the people who supposedly caused her death.
FCCLA is like the easiest thing to think of because we actually do overnight trips or full day field trips, and I used to be a camp counselor, so the moments on the bus rides are like my favorite because you're locked in, you can't go anywhere. So playing silly games or asking funny questions or playing different scenario games where you have to come up with creative answers. I love that kind of stuff. I like getting kids out of their comfort zone in a good way. That kind of breaks down walls and builds relationships.
A lot of it is she's looking at me. It is body stuff. It's body language that shoots daggers at other students, and because we often hear from kids that haven't spoken a word, but this kid looked at me. And that's the way it's presented. It's not presented as cut her eyes at me. It's not presented as she looked at me with a frown on her face or with a furrow in her brow. It's she looked at me. So there's a lot that is interpreted in that look, and it usually is in the negative, which is why it gets their attention as, in their estimation, a bullying activity. Clearly, I think to just provide real good models and for behaviors that would keep any kind of bullying behavior at bay. And that could be anything from teaching random acts of kindness or walking through the hall and saying hello to your fellow classmates instead of putting your head down, or looking the other way when they're coming, when you two are the only two in the hallway. Simple physical acts toward your fellow human being are very helpful, but also to talk to kids always about ways to deflect bullying comments or behaviors toward them. Whereas something should happen, they would either walk away, or they would smile, or they would tell a joke instead. There are strategies that we teach as early as elementary school that could help them deflect a bullying situation. Just changing the subject can change a bullying situation sometimes. We don't always collect ourselves quickly enough to do that, though. So we take that in and walk away with the oppressive feeling instead.
Recognizing teen bullying and being desensitized to it has become an issue itself, showing that it's not bad at all when a teenager is emotionally or mentally brought down.
Ideas that are being thrown out from the Duff and from 13 Reasons Why, I would say, are very different. The Duff takes kind of like the victim and turns her into the heroine, and also is kind of extremely unrealistic in its storyline. I don't think that, a lot of the stuff that happens in that would necessarily happen in real life. With 13 Reasons Why, I think it communicated a lot of, the thing that it did well was it communicated all of just like the little nuances, like the little stuff that happen when bullying kind of like piles up, because sometimes it is just like the little stuff that's over and over and over and over, and sometimes it's bigger stuff. It's like really big stuff. So I think that just because a show puts it out there and it's not fun, and it's not fun to think about, that doesn't mean that we don't need to talk about it.
It goes back to the first question, like normalizing things and creating like a desensitizing to where it's almost like a joke. It's like, oh, don't bully. But it's like, no, really, don't bully. But it becomes almost childlike because it's in so many young children's movies or books that it then almost puts the idea in their head before it was even there, and then makes it so normal that it's like, oh, well, that's part of middle school. Like, sometimes I think TV shows try to say that it's wrong or show that it's wrong, but just by putting it in a movie or a show has now made it more common or more normal. I don't have a specific example in mind, but I think that gets to your question. I spend a lot of time deliberately making my classroom feel really comfortable and inviting. I think that's the first step for a kid feeling welcome in a space, is do they actually feel physically comfortable? And then I try really hard to get to know my kids personally, my students personally, so that I can tell when they come in one day, like, you look a little different, your face is doing something different, what's up? And I can be able to check in without a student feeling like they have to come tell me that they're not okay. I want to develop a relationship with them early on enough that I know when something's up.
Times, certainly we're here to have them be able to talk it out. Talking it out is always, or venting. Venting is always helpful if they feel that strongly about somebody that might be bullying them. Bullying is going to go on in our lifetime. It just is. It's not something that's going to stop or that we can keep from happening completely. We can only change our own behavior toward it. And so that, as a counselor, that's what I can teach those students, again, like I said earlier, like how to deflect, how to use those strategies to keep the bullying behaviors at bay. And to realize that nobody else can, we hear the take my joy. Nobody's gonna take my joy. You can say that, but really and truly nobody else can dictate what I say or feel.
Shown to us from TV and movies that bullying is either normalized or so incorrectly portrayed that it has an even more negative connotation than already implied by the viewer.